page 16. One more. Or it might be two more. The numbering isn't the same. That's right there. Okay. So this is a note dealing with the long-term liabilities. And as you can see, this lists all the different loans that we have and how much interest rate we're paying on these different loans and how long a term they have. And as you can see, the long-term loans from 2014 and 2015 declined by 2 million. Next page is 2 over. That's it. Okay, this is the capital assets by fixed asset category. So we have, we place our assets in different categories: land and land improvements, building and building improvements, vehicles, water and wastewater, and so on. So when we look at the beginning assets, we had 190 million net book value, book value. Then we did additional assets of 2.8 million that we acquired throughout the year. We disposed of 93,000, leaving us with a balance of 192 million. The amortization, which represents how much we expense each year, because as the assets age, we have to write off a portion of them. So that started off at 68,000. We wrote off, we did expense 7,303,000, leaving us with an increase of depreciation of 75,324,000, leaving us a net book value of 117 million. So as the infrastructure ages, these assets will decline, and they will, unless we add assets, will continuously decline. And below that is just a 2014 comparison. Page 20, which is 2 more. And the very first section under commitments, Council has, this section deals with any commitments that Council has out, where we've set aside funds or we're guaranteeing a loan. So in this case, the Development Corp, in order to secure some loans so that they can invest in some wind and solar projects, Council set aside guarantees of $20 million, but the actual amount drawn as of March 31st, 2015 was only $10,500,000. It's 22. That's it. Okay, this section here deals with the government transfers. So we start off with the federal revenue from INAC, and it breaks it down in the various department categories. So like economic development, how much they receive from INAC, education, and so on. And here you can see the decline for the prior year. But if you look up at Public Works, you can see where it was 7.3 million, and this year it was 3.8 million. That's where the funding came through for the water treatment plant. So there was no real increase in funding here. It just remains status quo, which is, it's hard to maintain the same quality of roads, sewage, if the money that they allot to council doesn't increase. And this is a trend through every department. And then other federal, which is CMHC and Canada Health, there was just a marginal increase. And then below that is the province of Ontario, and how much, and that's broken out again by different departments. The only department that really received more money was the OW at the bottom there. and that was for payouts. Okay, then we go to page 24. Now this section breaks out the revenue and expenses and with a little more information by the various department or committees. Sorry. So here you can see where, and the prior, the next page gives you the 2014 numbers, and you can see when you compare year over year where there is not a lot of change and there's not a lot of increase in funding. So it's under the operating expenses, the biggest increase again is the bingo ball because they had more revenue, they had more expenses, and aside from that, there's very little change, just marginal. And of course, amortization is up as well, and that's, I spoke to that earlier, where because the infrastructure is getting older, it's depreciating faster. Okay, and then the last section is the very last page. And this section, again, just goes over, it's the council's honorarium, and that's the amount that they get paid is the honorarium. And in addition to the honorarium, they receive dental and medical. The travel expenses, which the chief spoke to, these are for out-of-pocket expenses. This is not money they're receiving as additional honorarium. It's strictly reimbursement of expenses, and it's used to have face-to-face meetings with different ministries in Ottawa, and also keeping, there's ministries as well. They go to Toronto to have meetings. So this is all intended to bring more money into the community or address issues that we're experiencing here in the community. So it's all money hopefully spent for the best of the community, and that's the